Good evening. I'd like to call this public hearing together for the Wheaton Park District. Mike, would you call the roll for us, please?
Certainly. I'll start over there. Commissioner Vyers?
Here.
Commissioner Morrill?
Here.
Commissioner Mee?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly? Here. Commissioner Fry? Here. President Hodgkinson.
Aye. Tonight, we will be reviewing the reasons for our proposed issuance of $5.5 million in general obligation limited tax park bonds. And the reasons that we will be doing that is for the payment of land condemned or purchased for parks, for the building, maintaining, improving, and protecting of the same, and the existing land and facilities of the district, and for the payment of the expenses and incidentals thereto. And that all persons desiring to be heard will be given an opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect thereto. And Mike, I would assume that if anybody from the public wanted to make a comment, they have 30 days to do that. Is that correct?
Well, we'll close the hearing today. They can always make a comment, and we'll always take a written testimony.
And they can send that in writing and so forth. Okay, great. All right. Are there any comments from commissioners? John, would you like to make comment? John's the chairman of our finance subcommittee.
Thank you, Jane. So we talked about this issue at the Finance Committee level. We've got bonds that are callable, issued that were issued in conjunction with the rehabbing and the building of the new clubhouse at Arrowhead. These are referendum bonds, and consequently, they are not subject to the tax cap. So the levy.
No, John, this is the hearing for the annual bond.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're a month ahead, but I'm glad you're on top of it. This is the rollover bonds that are used as the alternate revenue sources for the 2005 debt, the 2010 debt, and annual capital projects. So
Okay, well, I'm going to strike those comments because it was about the.
No worries.
All right.
All right. Are there comments from other commissioners? All right. Have we received any public comments tonight?
Does anyone wish to provide testimony concerning the BINA hearing? I have no written testimony provided either. I would let the board know immediately upon receipt.
Okay.
Do you need a motion then to close?
Then I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion by Ray Morrill and a second by Terry Mee. All in favor signify by saying roll call. Excuse me. Roll call vote then.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson.
Yes. All right. We're going to convene the regular meeting of the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners now. Mike, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Vyers?
Here.
Commissioner Morrill?
Here.
Commissioner Mee?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Commissioner Fry?
Here.
President Hodgkinson.
Here. Do we have any public presentations this evening?
I do not believe we do. Thank you, Margie. No.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there any community input? Anyone signed up to speak tonight? Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda this evening, we have approval of the disbursements totaling $1,837,919.92 for the period beginning July 8th, 2015 and ending August 11th, 2015. We also have the approval of the July 15th, 2015 regular meeting minutes, approval of the July 8th Finance Subcommittee meeting minutes, and approval of the July 8th and August 12th Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee meeting, and E, approval of the July 15th, 2015 closed session minutes. Is anyone wishing to take anything off the consent agenda? Okay. Do we have a motion to
Move
approve?
to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Ray and a second by John Byers to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is this a roll call?
It is.
Roll call.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Mee?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay. Next is our unfinished business. the possible action, the naming of are the suggested names for the old Hubble building, which is known currently as the Central Athletic Complex. Center. We have 3 suggestions, and these suggestions came from our naming committee, I believe, and I don't have that report right here, but could you remind, okay.
I'd be happy to read out.
The members of the committee.
Yes, we appreciate and we hope to continue to appreciate the work of our naming subcommittee. Joe Kish, who's here this evening, Dave Blankenship, Dorothy Chapin, Rich Armbrust, and Keith Carlson, along with staff, Margie Wilhelmi, and members of her team. So I will yield the floor back to you, President Hodgkinson.
Okay. So we have 3 suggestions for the names. Should I read those into the record?
Sure.
The committee has recommended the Central Athletic Complex, the Gateway Athletic Complex, and the Wheaton Central Athletic Complex. What we'll do this evening is we'll discuss these names, and then we will, if we come to a consensus tonight, we'll have a 30-day waiting period before there will be final approval. Okay? Does anyone want to speak on behalf of a particular name? John?
I just have a question, Margie. Did the committee, they narrowed it down to 3, but was there a leading favorite of the committee, or is there a recommendation along with these other? Because I feel rad. You guys went to all the meetings, and now the 7 of us are going to pick. I'd like to hear what you guys have to offer.
Well, Joe can jump in if he would like to as well, but number 1 was their number 1 choice.
Okay.
How many names? Oh, wow.
My recommendation would be that we go with the recommendation
From the committee? Okay. Bob?
I guess I have an interest in this because I grew up in this town and went to Wheaton Central High School, which is on that property. As I see it, there's really 2 parks there. You've got the park in front of Mariano's, excuse me, and then the athletic complex. I agree with John with the Central Athletic Complex, although I do like the Wheaton Central Athletic Complex name. But I'm thinking is make that little park in front of Mariano's the gateway park to Wheaton. And then the other park where the ball fields are and the building is, where we have the gymnasiums, the Central Athletic Complex. That's my opinion.
And I think tonight we're just talking about the building, correct? And then at a later point, the committee's going to come back with a recommendation for the individual field areas. Is that correct?
Correct. Just to recap, the original intent, and this was before the new board was seated, Bob, was to name the building. And as we were still under construction and it really didn't look like we were going to be playing any ball this year, which is true, we held off on the outside aspect of it. In that time, when the community became aware that we had formed a committee for naming, we received one proposal from Wheaton Rotary to name the athletic area in some form or fashion in regards to recognizing all the work that Rotary has done over the decades in partnership with the Park District. President Hodgkinson and the board then commended that issue to the naming committee, and we are going to be discussing with them in the future what we would do with that piece of it. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the board simply did not want to act on one proposal as it relates to the outdoor area. And I believe that there was certainly strong sentiment that a Rotary naming of some sort in the future should occur, but multiple proposals should be sought for the outdoor area.
The athletic fields aren't part of this? We're calling it a complex, and the complex is the building only, not the building and the fields?
It was our understanding that the name that was chosen designates the facility, the location. So if you say I'm going to the Central Athletic Complex, it's anything that resides at that property.
The building and the fields?
You can do it that way.
You couldn't name a field down the road or a gymnasium, but we felt
Right.
that a name that designated what.
That was my understanding, that we were naming, I don't care about the little park, but we were naming the athletic fields and the building all as one, and that's why the word complex would be appropriate versus building or facility or something.
And that's perfectly fine if that's the board's wish, but the rehash of the issue was specifically for the building, and that's okay to change it, but the history of the matter is, and Margie's got a great point, the history of the matter is it was building only. You can certainly name it the whole thing.
Margie just said it's the whole
Margie
field.
just said the committee didn't understand that and was doing the entire facility. So the
Joe, is that-
recommendation out of
is that
this committee
your
is
understanding?
for the fields and the building.
Where the water got muddied is upon the building information going out, and if it evolved into the complex, that's fine, and I think it's right. However, you have a very detailed proposal from Wheaton Rotary who thought we were just naming the building. So that can be addressed down the road in some form or fashion, and it's certainly, this approach can work for the entire property, absent the ornamental part that we're still growing in. I'm just making sure that we get the record clear, because we still have a very, very successful partner in Wheaton Rotary who needs an answer of some sort eventually.
And I don't think it's contradictory that we have things like Atten Park, that is a whole park, but then we have individual field areas named. I mean, we just named one after Ron Ellenboss. So it seems to me like they don't have to be mutually exclusive either. Yeah, Terry? I think
Yeah,
you
just,
guys-
to address this Rotary issue, Mike, do we not have, regardless of their association with this particular subject and, the old Hubble site and so forth, don't we have other areas that we could attach their name to in a park district?
Yes, we do.
So it doesn't have to be associated.
Certainly doesn't.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. I think that's a significant point. To me, the Central Athletic Complex, and this is not any disrespect to, the committee, but it's kind of boring. But, I like the gateway, and I think Bob has a point. If we're going to go with something that seems to be kind of generic, I understand that it was named Central, Wheaton Central at one point in time, but not everybody went there, and that's long gone. But if it's going to be that generic, then I think at least we need to build in that gateway somewhere, because it is a gateway, and there is certainly, I could support the idea that, okay, so we go with something generic like Central Athletic Complex, but I do like the idea of at least maybe a gateway park or something like that. And I understand that maybe we're not talking about that now, but I think, that may be part of what we should be talking about.
Ray?
I would agree with Bob and Terry. I think we can discuss it tonight, and we can put it out there and let a 30-day community input take its place. I think we could name the Gateway Park that we have called Gateway Park since the inception, separated by a street. Call it Gateway Park. I appreciate and thank the committee for their naming and going through the effort to find names for the other part of this. I think Central Athletic Complex for the athletic fields outside and the building probably makes more sense than just calling the building the Central Athletic Complex, with the outside being a different name. So I would support Gateway Park and the other part of that being the athletic fields in the building being Central Athletic Complex.
So you want to combine both?
I'd do both, and I'd do both tonight, and I'd give it 30 days notice, and we're done with it.
Okay.
And I do agree that Rotary needs some recognition, and we need to find a place for them. I could say Kiwanis needs a place.
And Lions.
We need to find a place for them.
TWA and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Any other
That's
comments?
That's how I feel.
No, I think that's a good idea.
I think I agree.
Okay. So is our recommendation to put out a 30-day public information that we are looking at the park being named the Gateway Park with the Central Athletic Complex as the building?
The building and
And the
ball
fields?
and
I would make such a motion.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. How do we intend to publicize this now? Is this something you do in a news release, Margie, or how?
They probably news release and then our normal channels of, probably some of our emails. 30 days obviously would be after the next board meeting.
then we would just wait.
Yeah, I'm okay giving it longer for people to comment. All right.
Let the committee know what we decided? Thank you.
And let's,
Thank them
Joe,
for
I know
us.
you're here tonight, so thank you very much, and we would appreciate if you would be available to us at other situations, too. So thank you very much.
If I may add one final comment. The final comment on the report, and I want to acknowledge this, is that the committee also had felt very strongly that we can do a better job recognizing local Wheaton veterans in all services, and had some suggestions in that regard. And I think I would like to follow up with Margie and the naming committee about what makes the most sense there, and bring that back to the board, as well as, based on Commissioner Mee's comment and Commissioner Morrell's comment, perhaps, the committee, if it chooses to continue to work, can address this issue of service clubs and their recognition through possibly naming of, athletic fields or a park for all of the service clubs that we work so closely with. And you named the three main ones, Rotary, Kiwanis, and Lions. So if it pleases the board, we can go down that road as well.
Good idea.
I'd love their help.
Okay? Thank you, and thanks again to the committee. We appreciate it.
Do you want a field named after you, Joe?
No.
Is that why you're here? Okay.
There's a lot of great Wheaton people, though, that we talked about. And is it okay if I say a few words?
Sure. Would you want to come up to the mic, then?
We're on TV.
Then everybody at home could, the 7 of them watching could hear you.
Do I need to be sworn in or anything?
Only if
State
you
your name.
intend to lie.
No. You know what? I'm a graduate of Glenbard West High School, and growing up, going to Glenbard West each day when you'd go in Beast or Gym, up on the wall is a mural of Bruce Capel, Glenbard West grad who died in Vietnam, and that hit you right in the face each day going in that gym. And one of the things that I talked to Mike about, I believe you have a special chance with that property and building. Right before I came here, my fat self went and got a salad at Mariano's, and pulling out of that parking lot, you have a huge building space where I think you have a similar opportunity to each day when people are at Mariano's or visiting one of those buildings, do something special to recognize, some of the important people of this community. We're a town where we have 2 Medal of Honor winners, James Howard Monroe and Bob Miller. I think that's pretty special. There was several other veterans mentioned on the suggestions for naming. And I think you have an opportunity, regardless of the name, to do something really special to, honor those who have, certainly made some type of sacrifice. Don't want to be long-winded, but, we also talked in our, with the naming committee about, does Memorial Park accomplish that? Memorial Park, certainly needs some updating. I believe Memorial Park honors those who served, who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and not necessarily all veterans. There's a difference there. So, regardless of the name that the committee came up with, I think we have a special chance with conversation to move forward and do some really cool things to, as an educator, we share the same mission in many ways to continue to educate people. And, I believe, speaking for everyone in the community, on the committee, that's what we would like to see.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks so much, Joe. Again, we really appreciate all your work on this. Thanks again, Margie. All right, the next item on our agenda is for the potential or possible action of attendance to the National Recreation and Parks Association Conference in September from 14th to the 17th, with a total expense of $1,996 per person. Is there interest in the part of any commissioner? I believe staff is already registered, but is there interest of any commissioner in attending that?
With the support of the board, I intend to go to that conference.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
I move to approve Terry being allowed to go to the national conference this September.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Ray Morrill and a second by Bob Fry to approve Terry Mee's attendance to the NRPA conference in September. All in favor signify by saying, can we do that? It's under our bid.
It's only $2,000.
Yeah, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Oh,
I'm with it. I just have a question.
yeah, John?
So do we have a policy in place about the number of commissioners we would ever send to this? I mean, it's reasonable, I think, to send a commissioner or two, but if it's $2,000 per and 5 or 6 or 7 of us are going, you're starting to look at a little bit of an expense there.
We've had as little as none and as many as all 7.
Okay.
When we were up for gold medal awards, all 7 board members attended. And when it's just a conference with no real significance to the Wheaton Park District other than a learning opportunity, then 1, 2, 3 maybe have attended.
We don't have an overall number, though, in answer to your question, I believe, John.
If I may, it ultimately becomes what the board wishes to approve in the annual operating budget for this purpose, and then subsequent to that at the meeting, because the board does have a policy on the books that says the board sends the board to the meeting, to the conference. So you have that kind of a double control there.
Thank you. All right, next we'll be discussing the program guide printing for 2016. I'm going to ask, are there questions about this at all before we seek a motion? Okay.
We can get a motion out there and then make a comment or ask a question.
All right, is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve a contract for option 2, two-color interior with the Strathmore Company for the printing services for the 2016 program guides in the amount of $85,329. That option which will combine the 2 program guides that we have, that being the youth and family adult, into 1 combined guide.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Terry Me and a second by Ray Morrill to approve the program guide for 2016. Roll call.
Just a comment before we take that vote. Good idea, whoever had it, to combine that. I think it's, good monetary savings for us, and, it's a good experiment, see how it works. Thanks, Margie.
This is the way we used to do it. Put them all together. Back when we did it different.
That's back when the dinosaurs were
Yeah,
delivering
back
a
when we
sword.
did it.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Back in
say back when we did it better.
back in '02, right?
Question for Margie. Margie, is there a measure that, we can use to determine whether or not this is successful, not successful? Any way to determine that?
Well, I mean, program registration is a good indication of I think when we split the books out many years ago, part of the purpose of that was they felt like, programs programs are doing incredible, and you just have a lot of duplication of those books, so it makes sense financially,
It's not perfect, but when would we, be able to look back at this once it goes out to see, whether or not, we've seen any kind of significant decrease or increase? Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other questions? All right, Mike, roll call.
Commissioner Fry,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Me,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill,
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers,
Yes.
President Hodgkinson.
Yes. Motion passes. All right. Our next item is the 2015 asphalt project, and this is a recommendation from Buildings and Grounds. Is this from your company, John?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add to it before we make a motion?
No, just interesting to note that since we started bidding all the parking lots separately and we can pick and choose the low bidder on each lot, we're saving substantial money. I think it's $30,000 or close to it on this award. So the fact that we're not putting it out as one lump sum and the bidders can pick, bid different ones, we'll get more contractors so you can do more work at the same time, and we're saving a little bit of money because we're getting competitive bidding on each individual site. So.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah.
John, you want to make that motion?
So I move that we approve awarding the Graf parking lot and the Scottsdale Pass to Chicago Paving in the amount of $65,000 for Graf and $39,000 for Scottsdale Pass, and then awarding the Hoffman parking lot to Meyer Paving in the amount of $37,405.
Second.
Did you want to address the contingency, John, or leave it for future?
Contingency?
Staff's requesting a $30,000 contingency.
Yeah, can we do that? We can do that. Well, I'll put it in my motion, and we'd also like to give, put a $30,000 contingency in the budget for unsuitable soils and different site conditions that we run into every year on these parking lots, and that we give the Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee the authorization to approve such change orders and then bring them to the board for ratification.
Second.
Okay, so we have an amended
Bob, wait a
motion.
second, so are you okay with
Oh,
that?
sorry.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve this contract. Roll call, excuse me.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Me?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson?
Yes. All right, the next item is for the Central Athletic Center currently chiller and the installation. And let's take a motion to approve this first, and then we'll have the discussion on it, okay?
So I'm going to make a motion that we award an engineering contract to Alara Engineering, the company that did the original design of the HVAC system, in the amount of $31,900 to design the air conditioning for the Central Athletic Center.
Plus and not to exceed.
And plus $1,000 for,
Reimbursable.
So approve a contract up to $32,900, including a $1,000 allowance for reimbursables.
Second.
so we have a motion by John Kelly and a second by John Byers to approve this contract. Questions?
I just want to note that when we go out for bid on this, we're air conditioning the gyms, but the chiller will be sized to provide a possible air conditioning for permanent ice or portable ice that we choose to put out at the athletic center. So we'll be buying one chiller that in the summertime will cool the building, and in the wintertime we can use that same chiller to make ice.
Yeah, so we'll get more 360 out of the park use. Yeah, okay. Other questions? Roll call?
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Me? Yes. Commissioner Morrell?
Yes.
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson?
Yes. Motion carried. All right. Next is our Atten Tennis Court reconstruction project. And I'd like to have a motion to approve this, if we could, and then we can have discussion.
Move to approve the change order one with MTJ Sports in the amount of $7,260 for the removal and replacement of the net posts and footings for the tennis courts in Atten Park.
Okay. So we have a motion by Terry and a second by John Kelly to approve this change order. Any questions? I have one. The consultant didn't tell us about this early on, and we found out later. Is that correct?
No, what happened was after the job bid and the contractor took possession of the site, he noticed that the posts were leaning and the foundations were kind of moving a little bit, and he recommended that since we were going to be tearing up the asphalt and putting down a more permanent solution than we normally do, we're putting down this, unitary solution surface that's going to last a long time. He said we ought to take care of fixing the posts now. So since we're doing a big upgrade, we decided to pull all the posts on all the courts and replace them with new net posts. So that, we won't have to do it while the new surface is in place. But yeah, when, whether or not the consultant noticed it or we noticed it when we put it out for bid, it didn't get, discussed. So it wasn't part of the contract. But we've made changes now that when we evaluate tennis courts, we're going
Okay.
to evaluate the condition of the posts and the fencing, and if we do a project, we're going to roll it all into the project.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Roll call?
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrill?
Yes.
Commissioner Me?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson?
Yes. Next is the, now, let's see, is it the boiler or is it the field grading?
Grading.
Is it grading?
Okay. Field grading. All right, at Central Athletic Field.
Okay, so I move that the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 for a completion date extension and number 2 for $3,650 in additional grading work with J.M. Morris Company.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kelly and a second by Morrill to approve the change order. Any comments or any questions?
We're basically approving a time extension because of the wet weather, and the time extension incurs no cost. They asked just for time, but no cost associated with the time. And then there was an area where the paths are going where the ground was really suspect. We had to dig it out and put some stone in before we put the paths in. So that's what the change order's for.
All right, is this a roll call? Could we have a roll call then?
Do we need a roll call on this, John?
Yeah, I would do it.
10,000, we're rolling fine. So I think you could do a voice vote.
Voice.
on it.
All right, could we, all in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay, motion passes. All right, next is the boiler at the community center.
Yeah, I'll make it.
John, you want to make a motion for this?
I move that the Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 for a completion date extension and number 2 for $981 to reroute that's a typo. It was, I think it was was it an inch and a quarter, Rob, or 1 inch? Copper.
It's a big pipe.
Yeah, I'd like to move a 9-inch
Nine-inch pipe.
So it's a 1-inch copper makeup water line that was in the way of running the new flues.
Call that a scrivener's error?
Second.
So we have a motion by Kelly and a second by me to approve this. Any other questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. All right, golf course equipment purchases. This calls for purchasing equipment for 2 separate agreements. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so this is for a John Deere compact utility tractor with loader,
Toro.
a Toro, and the Toro sprayer for, the cost of the loader is $47,776.14. We would be getting credit for a trade-in on a Ford, and we get $3,500 credit for that, and then we would outfit it with an additional snow plow attachment. Is that what that's for?
Yes, if I could, we have one small change. I apologize. I had discussed with staff and John Kelly the practice that we've been undertaking of actually setting a base price from a trade-in and then going ahead and trying to sell it on our own to try to increase our return on those used vehicles and equipment. So, if I may, the motion would be for the John Deere 4066 for $47,776.14, plus an 8-foot snow box attachment for $2,700 for a total price through the first joint purchasing program of $53,544.36. And then we have secondarily, if you want to take it in the same motion, through a separate joint purchasing program, both of which already secured the best prices, and our participation in the same was already secured and approved by legal counsel, a Toro MP 5800 sprayer for a cost of $53,544.36.
All you're doing, Mike, is eliminating the credit on the trade-in. Is that what you're doing?
Correct.
Is that what you decided you were interested
Yeah, we'd like to try to make more money than the 35.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm good to amend my motion
all right.
to reflect that.
So you moved, Ray, and who
I
seconded?
seconded.
And you
That's-
seconded,
that's
John?
okay, yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Roll call?
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Me?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson?
Yes. All right, now we have, is this the parking lot crack filling?
Yes.
We have approval of the parking lot crack filling, 3,000 linear feet, seal coating and striping proposal for Arrowhead Golf Club from Mall Paving in the amount of $12,806.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Terry Me and a second by John Kelly to approve that. Questions or comments? All in favor? Roll call?
Commissioner Vyers?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Me?
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes.
Commissioner Fry?
Yes.
President Hodgkinson?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next is Resolution 2015-01. This calls for the termination of our involvement, the Wheaton Park District's participation in the Park District Risk Management Agency's Paderma Health Insurance Plan at the end of the current 3-year membership term, which would be in December 31st, 2015. If we move to approve this resolution tonight, which we would give then to the Paderma Board, we would still have 2 more months to secure our own health insurance quotes and bids, and Paderma would have time to more firm up their bids for health insurance. I think we'd be able to make a more accurate comparison in terms of the cost to us for the health care. I'd like that we would have a motion to approve the resolution.
I move to approve the resolution as stated with the understanding that this termination resolution can be rescinded by the board action and subsequent to notice to Paderma by October 30th, 2015.
All right, we have a motion by Ray Morrill. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second by John Kelly. Any questions?
Now, Mike, just for the record, the reason we're doing this is because Paderma requires so many days' notice if you're going to get out. So if we go out and we get our own quotes, but we don't do this up front, and we get lower quotes, we wouldn't have the option to get out. So we're basically just doing this to keep our options open.
Correct.
And we haven't made any decisions yet, but if we don't do this tonight, we won't have any decisions to make.
Yeah, it seems likely that we may have created an environment where they need to change some of their contract language because they call for a 6-month out. They can't produce firm quotes within 6 months, so we began that negotiation, which ended us up here. They completely understand we're a happy customer, but we got to do the best we can for our employees and the taxpayers in the form of rates. So it's this is all a very friendly piece of business.
And the only other comment I would make is that this potentially would affect our health insurance, but it in no way affects our property, casualty, and liability insurance that we will continue to have through Park District Risk Management Agency, and which we're very pleased with. So, okay. We just need a voice vote on this, don't we?
On a resolution?
Resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Voice vote. All right. All in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we have pulled one item off the agenda, the copier.
Never made it on the formal agenda.
Good.
So it's
Okay.
the September 9th issue.
Okay, great. Are we down to reports for
We are.
staff? Let's start with you, Mike.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick verbal follow-ups to the previous board meeting. If you'll recall, we had a resident who had some concerns regarding how we define a family as it relates to some of our membership programs, such as the pool, would also impact Parks Plus Fitness. In short, with the family makeup and continuing to evolve, we have this request where a grandparent raising a child who's raising another child, all living in the same household, that we should be able to flex our way of doing business to accommodate that need. I've been working with staff, and by the time we're selling memberships again for the pool, well in advance of that, we'll have a recommendation to the board on essentially what the definition of a family is. It really sounds kind of ludicrous to discuss, but it is actually kind of important as it relates to residency and the benefit the taxpayers receive on a lower rate for a membership. But we do need to periodically look at how we are doing business, and I think that this particular resident did a good thing by bringing this up, and we'll follow up with her and with you to see how it is that we can be more inclusive yet fair to everybody. Secondarily, concerning the Illinois Association of Park Districts, I commended hard copy to you and an email copy earlier this week on a letter from the IEPD board concerning the handful of articles alleging pension spiking out of that board for their CEO. As I suggested last month when this came up, if you've read the response, there certainly are a greater number of facts at hand that need to be weighed. Certainly the Paderma board and their CEO knows that this board has concerns about how our annual $7,000 investment is spent, and we will continue to communicate the same. I will have a draft of a letter, if that's still the board's wish, to send out, just basically perhaps acknowledging your concern and also acknowledging receipt of this new information. Long story short, I think you're going to end up seeing some legislation that removes non-government entities from participation in IMRF. That actually has come up before in previous legislative sessions, and IEPD did nothing to try to stop it. So I think they're on board with changing how things have been done since the late 60s, which they've been a member since the late 60s. Obviously, starting a new day with a different retirement program would be less onerous from a public perception standpoint in instances like this. For what it's worth, I completely endorse our participation in IEPD and the millions of dollars that we've received in just the last 9 years in grants from various sources. Though many of those programs were actually created by the IEPD and lobbied to protect through the IEPD, and so for a $7,000 investment to have 24/7, 365 access to their brains and our presentation in Springfield, I think is a pretty good deal. So I would await further direction from the president regarding communication then.
Any, Terry?
Yeah, we agreed as a board at last month's meeting that we would send such a letter, and I'm still supportive of us, our following through on our commitment.
Okay.
And I have no problem, Mike, with acknowledging, what, their exec director has sent, but I still think that letter should go.
Yes, sir.
I agree. I don't think we should just ignore it.
Right, I think we should make it known.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Very good. I have one more item. As you also will recall, last month we approved a contract with the University of Illinois for a comprehensive attitude and interest survey, which we will be releasing pending board approval of the instrument later this year. The principals on our project, Robin Hall and the other fellow's name's escaping me, I apologize. We will be setting up a time where they will be spending a day or two within the next week or two to conduct the more brief focus groups with our user groups, our staff, and I want to give the board an opportunity to be a part of that if they wish. Again, the final instrument, which will go out to 2,000 randomly selected residences, will also include questions concerning the two master planning items that we're currently working on, which is the Memorial Park Master Plan, as well as the Rice Water Park and Pool Master Plan. So we want to take this opportunity to fold all of those together and deepen our input from the community on those master planning process. So I'll be in touch with you when Robin will be in town. That's all I have.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay. Reports from staff. Ray, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do.
Comment?
A couple of things. Number one is the community center report. Very well written, Vicki. Thank you. I have a lot of, comments. I got a lot of stickums on here. I'll give them to Mike, and Mike can go through them with you. And some are comments and some are questions. if you can get back to me with the questions, I'd appreciate it, and the comments, take them for what they're worth. But I did like on page 3, the community center priorities, and I really think these are very nicely written, and if they're not priorities for the whole district, they should be. Service, the patron comes first. Commitment, we're a team. Adaptability and growth, learn by listening to our patrons. Integrity, set high standards. And fun, create fun. I think those are great. So that should be our motto for the whole district. But I'll give this to Mike, and Mike can talk to you about it later. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
In regards to the community center. If somebody else wants to talk about this report, I still have some other things, but
Just a comment on this report. Thanks, Vicki. And the comments, the notations under looking ahead, very helpful. When do you foresee any of these moving forward, or is this budget?
To be honest, these came from a brainstorming meeting we had in June of 14 with the open planning, strategic planning committee. So they were just ideas if we were ever to move forward with renovations, what we may like to see at the community center.
So no specific budgetary plans at this
No,
point?
not for anything on that list,
Okay,
no.
thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Vicki while she's standing up here? Vicki, I was extraordinarily impressed with this
Thank you.
report. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I don't think we've seen any of the reports thus far that have gone into this much depth about all the training you do.
We spent a
for
lot
the-
of time in
for
14
the
on professional
staff,
development training.
And I think that shows when you see that so many different people are coming into the community center every single day with so many different kinds of questions and so confused about
It is
so
the
many
hub
things.
for everything.
And
You are
those
right.
people do a really incredible job.
Thank you.
So they're very well trained. We're very impressed with them.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Vicki? Okay. All right. Staff
Comments.
reports.
Comments on staff reports. Congratulations to Brian Wickenack and for his promotion to Director of Restaurant and Banquet Operations, and for Steve Henchy. I don't know what your title is, Steve. Are you Superintendent of Planning? Okay. Steve was just promoted, or upgraded, actually. So congratulations to both of you. I really think it's great that we had 100 juniors participating in our junior golf program. That's a first, I think.
It's growing.
Great job. They're our future golfers. And I also like the idea of the program for the 23 women from NICOR, where they provided a clinic and some social time, 3 holes of golf. I thought that's a great idea, and that might be a great marketing thing for other corporations and that you guys can jump on. But that was a good idea. I don't know who came up with it, but that was cool. It's interesting to note that the number of rounds we have for 2015 are better than, or equal to at least, our average for the last 5 years. So I think the idea that golf is dying maybe isn't true in Wheaton. And a final question is, what's going on with the Center for History? Are they gone?
The extent of my understanding is that the building on North Main is for sale, and that there was a settlement payment made to the former landlord of the center. There's additional information I'd be happy to pull from the court records to provide them to you.
I've always been interested in the golf exhibit that they have had there at the center, and I still think that it'd be ideal to have it at Arrowhead Golf Course in some way, shape, or form. And so I think, it would behoove us to pursue that if we can.
You have a lot of company in that regard, Ray, and we will.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, John?
Yeah, I have a couple. Attended the Cosley Uncorked event, and I want to congratulate Sue and the foundation. It's a great event. I understand it was record attendance despite the weather. One of my favorite stories out of the whole day was that the weather looked bad in the morning, so Sue called up Parks and Planning, and guys in trucks with tents and tent stakes and sledgehammers showed up, and it was a tent city there. So everybody had a great time. And in fact, Mike looked out on the crowd and said, "This is the happiest spot in DuPage County," and I had to kind of agree with him at that moment. The other event was Wheaton Brew Fest, which I poured beer at, and I have in the past, and it's always a lot of fun. This year, I noticed that the patrons were really compliant about getting their cards marked and accepting a 2-ounce pour without getting too aggrieved. And I think a lot of the credit goes to both Dan and Christina for the volunteer training that they do, because they kind of hammer that into everybody's heads. And when everybody's doing that consistently, pouring throughout the tents, it gets the patrons expecting to have their card marked and to take a 2-ounce pour. In fact, I heard Dan admonish one of the brewery reps who was walking around the park with a full beer, told him, hey, only 2 ounces for you, too. So I thought that was great. Congratulations to Lisa Drake and Casa DuPage, all the help they provide in getting volunteers there to make a successful event, and I know it's really beneficial for them as well. And I have a question after all this, too, for maybe Mike, is have we ever studied or gotten some sort of estimate of the economic impact that an event like Brewfest brings to downtown businesses, particularly the restaurants?
Anecdotally, yes. As a matter of fact, I have brought this topic up as an ex officio member of both the DWA and the Chamber of Commerce, and we'd like to work closely with them to start measuring real empirical data regarding when we bring 20,000 people to town or 2,000 people to town, how is that impacting local businesses directly. It's always very easy to use a national standard and say, for this demographic, the average tourist spends $30, but I don't really think that would be valid in a case as a case like ours, where I think it's so easy to measure. So I agree with you, and I do want to put that together. There's a new board president for the chamber, Brett Matheson. He and I, as a matter of fact, talked about it today over lunch, so you can count on seeing that happen. I can assure you that the city understands the economic impact that we provide through our many special events. I think that the proof of that is in their comprehensive downtown master plan, which includes a lot of references to festivals and special events and, the impact of bringing people to town. So your point is well taken, and we need to get working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John. Ray?
Can I just add, so
No.
it doesn't get forgotten?
No, I'm sorry, you can.
Master plan comments, if I could get...
Actually, I'm going to ask you about that when we get through.
If I could get comments from the board, I've gotten some from John Vyers, gotten some from Jane, and I would appreciate comments from the rest of the board in regards to what's in the master plan, where do you want to go with it, how do you want to prioritize things. And we don't need to come to any conclusion, I just need comments. And I think when we do the park tour, some of it will come together.
Right. I suggested to Ray that I thought the park tour would be a perfect example for us to be looking at some of the things that are on our to-do list in the immediate future, to make sure that those facilities and parks are going to be covered, so we could see those and get a first-hand look before we do the prioritization. Okay. Terry?
Yeah, I want to echo Ray's sentiments. Congrats to Steve and Brian for their promotions, well deserved. John has already mentioned a couple of great staff efforts since our last meeting, and offerings to the community, and that would be Cosley Uncorked and the Wheaton Brew Fest. I also want to mention the Cosley Classic golf outing. I mean, it just continues to get better and better all the time. I know that we had a few less people this time, but I presume that our revenues were consistent, if not greater. Does anybody have a handle on that? Yeah. Good. Anyway, I mean, great staff efforts, and thank you for that.
Good. Thanks, Terry. Anybody else? Staff comments? Staff report comments? Okay. Ray, I was going to ask you about if you wanted to set a timeline for getting those comments
I
back
don't have
from
enough
commissioners.
comments I think, please just give me your input, and we'll wait till the tour, and then after the tour, Bob and I, because Bob offered to be on this committee with me, we'll meet with Mike and we'll get rolling.
And I
on
think
it.
I'm on too. So
No, I think all the board can be on it, but we'll set a time, and we'll meet with Mike and we'll get rolling.
great. And maybe we want to have a chance to talk to Robin, too, when he's in town.
Yes.
Okay, I have one more comment before we go into closed session. On behalf of the Park District and the Board of Commissioners, I'd like to convey our most sincere condolences to Art Pape and his family from the death of his beloved wife, Barbara, who happened to be one of the loveliest people I think most of us had ever known. And she was a great volunteer for Causley. She was a great advocate for the Park District. Art had served as a Park Board Commissioner and is now our current chairman of the Causley Foundation. And this is such a tremendous loss to all of us. So, Art, we are very, very sorry, and we're wishing the best for all of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, I think we need a motion to go into closed session for the purposes of discussing appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, 5 ILCS 120-2C1,
Move to recess.
and
Oh, is there something else?
purchase?
Yes.
And purchase or lease of real property, 5 LCS 120-2C5. Is there a motion? Terry?
Move to recess.
Second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call?
We do.
All
And
right.
we will adjourn from executive session,
Come back in
possibly
regular.
make a decision.
Yes.
Commissioner Byers.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly. Yes. Commissioner Fry.
Yes.
President Hodgkinson.
Yes. Thank you very much, everybody.